In Psalm 86, King David said, "There is none like to thee, O Lord, among the gods. There are no works like to thy works. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and shall worship before thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name. For thou art great and doest wonders. Thou art the only and the great God. Guide me, O Lord, in thy way, and I will walk in thy truth. Let my heart rejoice that I may fear thy name. I will give thee thanks, O Lord my God, with all my heart, and I will glorify thy name forever. For thy mercy is great towards me. Thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell." King David had lived a righteous life. He had followed God with all his conscience. And then he did a wicked thing. He looked at a woman lustfully who belonged to another man. And he took her and he slept with her. And then he organized the death of the husband of that lady. And then he carried on with his life, oblivious to what he had done. But then the prophet Nathan came to him and told him a parable about a man who stole another man's sheep, another man's lamb. And he said, that's wicked that he should steal another man's lamb. That man should die. And the prophet Nathan said to David, "Thou art the man."
Which man?
And King David was convicted because he knew he had committed wickedness. And he prayed before the Lord and cried out to God to have mercy upon him because of the wickedness he committed in stealing another man's wife and then arranging the death of that man. And God forgave him for that sin. And so David says here, "Your mercy is great towards me. You have delivered my soul from the lowest hell." We know that experience as people forgiven by God. This is Speaker's Corner, just here. People here talking about God from all sorts of different backgrounds. Muslim, Christian, all sorts of different variations. Jewish, but everyone has one thing in common. Their belief in God and a God of mercy, a God of forgiveness. And I'm coming to speak to you today as you're going into this place. This place is not associated with the God of creation. It's the God of this world. He is the God of pleasure, Bacchus, the Greek God, the Roman God. He was the one who enticed people in the Roman times. The Romans organized pleasure for the people, their subjects, the people they invaded. They didn't just intimidate them with fear. They provided them with entertainment, with colosseums, with amphitheaters, even with shopping centers. You can see them in St. Albans, the shopping center and the amphitheater, and where they perform their plays and all their gladiatorial combats. It was a culture of pleasure. And that is what we have in England today. We have a culture of pleasure. But the God of the Romans is the God of Britain today. It's still Bacchus. It's not the God of creation. It's not the God of the Bible. It's the God of this world. And he is the one behind Winter Wonderland, offering you pleasure to escape from the worries and the concerns and the anxieties of this world. And I'm here today to tell you from Speaker's Corner, there is another world. There is another paradigm. It's called eternity. There's a spiritual realm that you cannot see. We do not just live in a material world. We live in a time and space. But outside of time and space, there is another reality, which is where God dwells. And God has made you in his image. You are not just an animal, as you've been told in school. You're not just a physical being. You are made in the image of God. Whether you're black, brown or white, you are created in the image of God. You have an eternal soul. That's what it means to be made in the image of God. You have a conscience, a sense of right and wrong. You have an ability to have feelings and emotions that animals don't have. You can be hurt. You can have laughter. You can enjoy things that animals can't enjoy. You are made completely differently from the animals. Physiologically, we might have a skeleton similar to a gorilla or an ape. But inside you, you are made in the image of God. You are eternal. You're an eternal being. And you must exist in eternity when this life is over. Life is short. Death is certain. And eternity is long. And I'm here today. I normally speak in Speaker's Corner, but I've come here to speak to you. This, as it happens, is set right next to Speaker's Corner. If you have the time, go there and listen to people speaking and think about your soul. That's what I'm come to here to tell you. To think about your soul. Think about eternity. Not just here and now. Not just pleasure. Not just Oxford Street. Not just buying Christmas presents. But think about not your body and what you can eat and what you can see and what you can hear. But think about your soul and what you can feel in your soul. Do you feel good in your soul? Do you have a clear conscience? Do you have peace in your soul? The Bible tells us there is no peace for the wicked. The Bible tells us over and over again that those who carry out acts of unrighteousness and do not repent cannot find peace in this world or in the world to come. And I'm here to warn you, and I'm here to plead with you. I'm here to encourage you to think about your soul and getting not just pleasure for your body, but peace for your soul. Because Jesus offers you a peace which the world cannot give. He offers you a peace which the world cannot take away. He says to you, come to me, all you labor and are heavy laden, and he will give you rest. Take his yoke upon you and learn of him, for he is meek, he is lowly of heart, and you will find rest for your soul. That's what this is about today. That's what we talk about in Speaker's Corner. All the people crowded there are concerned for your souls, for each other's souls. Because we have a reality, we have a consciousness, not just of the here and now, but a consciousness of the outside of time, of the reality outside of time and outside of space. There is a reality, not just here. But no, but they don't go there. No, these people go there. No, these people are going to leave Wonderland. Are they? You're not going to keep your side? No. Yeah, no, but the whole point is I'm to preach to the people who don't know about it. They know about the Bible, but these people don't. Yeah. But the command for Jesus is to preach the gospel to every living creature. I understand. Yeah, so these are every living creature. Yeah, so I have to preach to them as well. Yeah. I mean, if you're kicking me off, I get that. Yeah. But because I have to do what Jesus tells me first, and I respect the authorities, I'm not quite sure where you fit with all the authorities. So when the authorities come and say, you can't do this and get rid of me, I'll do that and I'll go. So you are an official here.
I am an official. I'm like you asking me. To be honest, from a personal aspect, I think there is more over there anyway. Some people come especially for that.
Yeah, I know.
So you'll get a lot more response over this week.
No, but I know they're going to walk past me. I don't have a problem with them walking past me.
Should we go and have a look at it?
I go to Speaker's Corner every week.
I go to Speaker's Corner every week. I've not really seen it. This is my first year with Wonderland.
Okay. Well, I recommend you go there. When I want to preach to you. But then politely ask them. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you're an official and you're telling me that I shouldn't do this, I'm not telling you you shouldn't. I'm politely asking you. But I don't get what your basis is. Do you have the authority to kick me off?
I don't know.
Well, then I'm going to carry on with respect.
Fine. Yeah. I can't stop you personally. I'm just advising you to move.
Right. Thanks.
Okay. Cheers. No problem.
Nice day. As I was saying, I'm come here to speak about the Bible. I realise that most of you might not know about the Bible. Some of you will have some knowledge. Some of you may have more knowledge about it than me. I normally speak at Speaker's Corner, but today I've come here to speak to the people going into Winter Wonderland. The reason is, I want the people going into Winter Wonderland to hear the message about God. I want people going into Winter Wonderland to think about their souls. Because I know if I was going into Winter Wonderland, I would be thinking about my body and having fun. I would be thinking about pleasure. I would be thinking about having a good time. I would not be thinking about the life after death. I would not be thinking about eternity. So that's why I'm here to ask you to think about eternity. I'm here to ask you to think about your soul before it's too late. We are told in this world, by the newspapers, by the education system, that there's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as an eternal realm. We are told that there's only a material world, and it evolved over millions of years. That's what I was told in school. And I know a lot of the English people walking past here would have been told the same thing. But I learnt that there's more to me than just a body. I learnt that I have a soul that was created in the image of God, a soul created to inhabit eternity. I learnt that over time by studying and reading different characters in history, and then eventually by reading my granddad's Bible. But most people in England today are led to believe that there is no eternity. They're led to believe there is no heaven, there is no hell, there is no God, there is no devil, there's no day of judgment. That's what John Lennon talked about in his song. Imagine that there's no heaven above us, no hell beneath. And he thought that was a good thing. But look what happened to him. It wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a good thing for me to imagine that there was no heaven, to imagine that there was no hell. Because when I was in that state of imagination, I had no peace. I had no happiness. There was no meaning in my life, no purpose in my life. And then I realized that I did have a purpose, an eternal purpose. I realized that there was a heaven to go to, there was a hell to avoid, and that I had a soul which was going to live after my death of my body. And that soul was going to either go to heaven or it was going to go to hell. And when I discovered that, I had no peace until I repented of my sin. I had no peace until I repented and came to Christ. Yeah, you work for Winter Wonderland. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I'd rather stay there. But if you're an official, you've got authority to move me on, then I'll do it.
I had no idea what you were doing. I can't even see you. They spotted you on camera.
Okay. All right. Okay. What, these yellow gates
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sure. King David wrote these words: "There is none like to thee, O Lord, among the gods. There are no works like to thy works. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and shall worship before thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name." Do you realize that there's a God in heaven, and one day all nations that God has made will come and worship before him? That day is coming soon, when all nations will worship before God. There won't be several gods. There won't be a God for the Muslims, and a God for the Europeans, and a God for the Africans, and a God for the Chinese. There'll be one God, and all nations will bow down before that one God. Whether black, brown or white, whether Christian, atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, all nations, all religions will bow down before the one God and will glorify his name. This is what King David prophesied. He was a prophet of God who told us that a Messiah would come to deliver his people from their sins. And later on, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and told her that she would have that Messiah, and he would sit upon the throne of David. And all nations, that's the Messiah that all nations will bow down to on the day of judgment. Because that Messiah, we are told in Psalm 110, is God himself. God come in the flesh. The Messiah is God. Jesus Christ was more than a man. He was the eternal Spirit come in a human form to preach to mankind, to suffer with mankind, to endure all the suffering and the pain that we endure and the temptations that we go through, and to come through prayer, through temptation, through death and resurrection, to be glorified as a high priest for all mankind. Do you know that if you have no religion today, or if you have any religion today, you have a high priest in heaven who stands at the right hand of God, who is praying for you today? Did you know that? Jesus Christ is the high priest. He is the Messiah. He is the one who prays for all mankind, whether you're black, brown or white, whether you're Christian, atheist, Muslim, Buddhist, or nothing at all. Jesus is praying for you. He's no respecter of persons. He doesn't care what your background is. He doesn't care what your heritage is. He cares about you and your soul, because your soul was made in the image of God, and he wants your soul to be with him in eternal paradise.
Amen.
He is a living soul. He became a soul just like you and me. He suffered all the same things that your soul suffers. He suffered the pain. He suffered the burdens and the anxieties of living in this world. He suffered the rejection of mankind. He was rejected and despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief. There is no sorrow that you have experienced that he didn't experience. There's no pain of betrayal, of isolation that you feel that he didn't feel. There's no feeling of rejection, no burden, no anxiety, no fear that he has not experienced. And so he could say, "Come unto me, all ye that labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Jesus Christ is saying to you today, go unto him, all ye that labour and are heavy laden, and he will give you rest. Take his yoke upon you and learn of him, for he, Jesus Christ, is meek and lowly of heart, and you will find rest unto your soul. Do you want rest for your soul today? Are you happy to just get the pleasures, the passing pleasures of Winter Wonderland? Or do you want to get something more substantial, something that will last into eternity, something, a peace that the world cannot give, a peace that Winter Wonderland cannot give, a peace that the world cannot take from you? Jesus Christ offers you that peace. He offers you a sense of hope into eternity, a sense of hope in the hopelessness of this world, a sense of fulfillment in the dissatisfaction of this world. This world will never satisfy you. All the pleasures, all the alcohol, all the fun of the fair will not satisfy your soul, because your soul is made in the image of God. The emptiness in your soul will not be filled by the trinkets of Vanity Fair. The emptiness in your soul will not be filled by the bottle of beer, by the wine, by the drugs, by the entertainment. The emptiness in your soul can only be filled by God.
Don't do it.
God is what you need.
There is no God.
God will fill the emptiness. The emptiness in your soul is a God-shaped hole. The world cannot satisfy that hole. The world cannot fill that hole. Not all the things you can watch on your phone, not all the things you can drink in the pub, not all the music you can listen to in the nightclub will ever fill that emptiness. Only God will fill the emptiness, because God is who made you. God is the one who knows about you. He knows the emptiness in your life. He knows the emptiness that you feel. And He wants to fill that emptiness. God cares for you. He cares so much that He died for you. He didn't just come here to see what you are doing. He didn't just come here to see what it's like. He came here to experience everything you feel, all the temptations you undergo. And then He came to take the suffering that you deserve and I deserve in hell. Jesus Christ came as the God Himself to suffer what you deserve to suffer for eternity. What I deserve to suffer for eternity. You deserve to suffer. Do you realize that? Your selfishness deserves punishment. You have stolen from God. It says in here, the prophet Micah said, can a man steal from God? But you have stolen from me. Rather, God said that through the prophet. He said, can a man rob God? But you have robbed God. You've taken your life from God. You've taken your soul. You've taken everything that God's given you. Your body, your mind, your intellect, your ambitions, your abilities, your gifts. You've taken them for yourself. You've accumulated wealth for yourself. You've indulged in pleasure for yourself. What have you given to God? Have you said thank you to God for anything that He's given to you? You've taken it for yourself. You've stolen from God. I've stolen from God. Don't you realize that your body is just a temporary place for you to dwell in? You are a soul dwelling in a body. Your body is like a flat in which you pay tenancy. You have a tenancy in your body. And the time will come when you have to give up that tenancy. And you have to give an account of what you did when you were a tenant in this body. How will you stand on that day of judgment, when you have to give an account before your landlord? Your landlord is God Himself. God created you. He gave you the body you live in. He gave you the mind that you think with. And you have it on loan from God. One day you're going to have to give it up and give it back to God. You're going to have to give back your body, give back your mind, and your soul will leave your body. Your soul will leave your mind, and your soul will go back to the landlord who gave it to you. How will you stand on that day of judgment when you have to give an account of your tenancy? Have you given back to God? What have you given back to Him for all His gifts to you? Have you even said thank you to God for all the things He's given to you? Have you contributed anything? Have you done anything for anyone else in the world? Or has it all been for number one? Has everything just been for yourself? Because one day you're going to have to tell God that. You're going to say, sorry God, I just used it all for myself. My body, my mind, my money, my talents, my work. It was all for me, not anyone else. Not for you, not for anyone else, just me. How will you feel on that day? You will feel ashamed. The prophet says, who shall stand when He appeareth? And how will we be able to stand when He comes in judgment? How will you stand on that day? I'm asking you, and this applies to me as well, because you've come here to enjoy yourselves. That's okay, to enjoy yourselves, but what about your soul? What's going to happen after you've been to Winter Wonderland? What's going to happen to your soul? Have you thought about what happens after death to your soul? Where's your soul going to go after all this? After all this fun, this entertainment, this pleasure? What's your soul going to do? Have you got anything to offer to God? What are you going to give back to Him? All the money you've accumulated, is it all for yourself? That's what I'm asking you today. Make peace with God before it's too late, because God wants to make peace with you. You can't give anything to God. The only thing we can give to God is thanks and praise. But God is asking you for that. Will you give Him thanks? Will you give Him praise? Will you acknowledge Him, your Creator? Your Creator. Deal with your Creator now, before it's too late. Because when you get to eternity, it'll be too late to reform your life, because your life will have gone. It'll be too late to give back to God what you've stolen from Him. Make peace with God now, and you do that through Jesus Christ, by talking to Him about your failure. Don't go to God and say, well, I did this, I helped a lady across the road, I gave money to charity. It's not going to help you. Go to God and say, I have sinned. God, have mercy upon me, a sinner. I have stolen my life from you. I have stolen my soul from you. I've stolen my mind from you. It's all been for me and nothing for God. When will you realize that your life is but a blip in time? We are here but for a moment. Life is short. Death is certain. Eternity is very long. Think about eternity before it's too late. Think about your soul before it's too late. Think about the day of judgment before it's too late. And make your peace with God now, because Jesus Christ is saying to you, come unto Him, all ye that are heavy laden, and He will give you rest.
Amen.
Take His yoke upon you and learn of Him, for He is meek, He is lowly of heart. And if you go to Him now, you will find rest for your soul. That's more worth than Winter Wonderland, a few thrills and spills for a few minutes. That's going to be better than getting drunk for a short period of time, from listening to music in a nightclub and having fun for a short period of time. This is going to be lasting peace, a peace that the world will never give. Jesus said, my peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, does Jesus give unto you. The world takes. It seems like it's giving, but with one hand it gives, with the other hand it takes. It takes your energy, it takes your life, it takes your money, it takes your health, it takes your energy, it takes your emotions, it takes your love, and it leaves you with nothing. It spits you out, empty, hollow. That's what the world does. But Jesus says, not as the world. He says, my peace I give to you, my peace I leave with you. Not as the world gives, does Jesus give to you.
Amen.
Go to Jesus now and find peace with Him before it's too late. Amen.